Welcome to Express Yourself in Writing. Today we'll be talking about dictation and organizing your ideas. This is what the series has covered. They've all been recorded, so if you've missed some, you can go to our YouTube channel. But we started off point and choose, like alternative pencils and just a variety of ways to do some writing with our very, very emergent writers. Then we talked about building sentences using like Clicker 8 and other different high and low tech tools that you can help build sentence for those students who are just slightly above emergent writers. And then today it is dictate and organize your ideas. And on the 13th of December, we will be talking about composing and typing with grammar support. So lots of good resources and ideas for you as you go through here. I'm going to introduce myself. My name is Heidi Brislin. I am an occupational therapist and an AT specialist. I work 1 day a week for the Special Ed Tech Center. And then I work in the Edmonds School District in Edmonds, Washington, which is a medium to large school district. And I have been in the schools for 21 years. And I am passionate about writing. So I love helping create opportunities so that every child sees themselves as a writer, and approaching and looking at writing, approaching it from a developmental framework. So we're making sure that they understand the function of writing before we really start diving into the form of writing, and then making writing accessible and fun with just the right amount of silliness. It's always better when there's a little bit of silliness. And then another passion is publishing students' writing, because they just light up when they get to see their work in print. And I'm going to let Rose introduce herself.
Thank you. My name is Rose Roscoe. I am also an occupational therapist and AT specialist with the Special Ed Tech Center. I've done school district work for 35 years, and now I'm just with SETC, and I'm also passionate about writing. And really passionate about front-loading lots of UDL options for students to express themselves. I think we've all experienced students kind of being stuck with paper and pencil being very limiting. And so Heidi and I are here to show you how many wonderful options you can give your students to succeed, and also making their writing meaningful to them and related to their own life, so they're motivated to learn. And then we always love to show you some innovative tools. So happy to be here today.
The learning objectives are the same for the whole series. So session 2, we're going to do a quick review because these all kind of built upon each other. We talked about the development of sentence writing skills. We looked at Clicker 8 writing grids. We looked at some sentence building apps, and we looked at story writing apps like Pictello and Book Creators. We're going to review the writing tools continuum. We've been talking about that every week, and we're going to talk about it a little bit more this week. We're going to review the most common speech-to-text tools, and then we're going to review tools to support students in being able to organize their writing, and then discuss what tools you use in your district, and we'll have a quick preview of what session 4 is going to look like. I like to share this every time because, again, like I spoke about in my introduction, many of our students come to us at this pre-literate stage, and we are wanting them to perform at this stage when they come into kindergarten, maybe here, somewhere between emergent and transitional. And so a lot of them aren't given that opportunity to do that scribbling stage. And that's where we really learn the function of writing. And then we progress to emergent and transitional and fluent. And so the group of kids we're going to be looking at are kids who are like transitional to fluent, will be the students who we'll be looking at for dictation. So let's look at Jane Farrell's new writing tools continuum. So I'm going to pop this open here. And there are a lot of words we're not going to go through. But what I love about this is it breaks it down into minute steps, from emergent writing to where they're just doing letters and marks without engagement, all the way to conventional multi-paragraph writing. So the last few sessions covered, some of the kiddos who were in these groups A, B, and C. We're going to be looking at students who are in this group E, where they're starting to write words or speak words well. They can do some sentence fragments. They can do some simple sentences all the way to expanded sentences and complex sentences. And then there's one more group after this is sentences with multiple elements. So it's a great tool to use when you're collecting. We used it the other day to help write a IEP goal for a student. So we kind of figured out where they were and looked at where we'd like to see them in a year. So this is a great tool to spend some time exploring. And some more information about the tool. There's the handout for her webinar that was done October 21st, 2022. And then the recording of her webinar as well. So those are there. I definitely recommend. Great information on how to keep data and document the progress your students are making with their writing. Let's look at dictation. I mean, what's it called? It's called everything. I even learned some new terms today. Typically for like our state assessments, it's called speech to text. I find that really confusing because people get it confused with text to speech, which is the screen reader. They're just too close to each other, but that's what we have to live with as far as our state testing. Manufacturers or vendors of these dictation supports call it dictation. Voice typing, I found voice dictation today, and speech recognition. I like to use speech recognition because it's just clear what we're doing. So if you hear me saying speech recognition, it just means any or all of these. So another great resource that's in your handout is Kelly Keys and
Daniel,
that was close. They have put together a speech recognition guide for AT for writing. And I'm going to flip through this. I'm going to go quick through the first 3 pages because it's just or maybe we'll just start here. So basically it talks about speech recognition is universally available to all of our students. It's on all of their computers. It's on the iPads. If they have phones, it's on their phones. So it's a universally available tool. And basically the things that the handout, the guide takes you through is when and how to consider speech recognition, planning sessions for trying it and deciding which technology to try first, teaching the speech recognition writing process because it's different than handwriting, because as we're writing or typing, we can think as we write or type. But when we're using speech recognition, we have to think it and speak it and check it and fix it. And so they have a whole little process that they use to go through everything from modeling to single sentences to skip around academic vocabulary, academic writing, and independent writing. And the next step is to assess it. So make sure you know what your students' preferences are and understand how it's functioning as AT, because if it's a universal tool that they like to use, but they can type fine, then it's not considered AT. If it's essential to them being able to complete their work, then it's considered assistive technology. Otherwise, it's a universal support. So it talks again about pre and post, collecting data. And then it talks about having an implementation plan. So it is very, very thorough. And I definitely recommend you grab this and look at it as a student's guide for speech recognition. So there's a wealth of tools and information here in this.
So looking at those steps to teach speech recognition in reference to the manual by Dan and Kelly, the first step is modeling. As an educator, you can model that writing process for the whole class using the projector, modeling the 4 process steps, which are think it, say it, check it, and fix it. And then just demonstrating how you have to, get your mic set up, turn it on. When you're dictating, you're actually dictating and showing everyone that process of how you're doing it. Okay, I'm going to stop and think about what I want to say. Okay, then I turn on my mic and I say it. So you're showing the students live, and then they are going to do it after you.
So step 2 is looking at a personalized sentence. You want the students to volunteer to come up to the front. They're looking at if you're doing it as a whole group. So adapt this for if you're doing it with one student. So you want to have the student that you're working with demonstrate a for the full class, if it's a full class, by dictating a personalized student. And so, a personalized sentence. So the sentence they recommend is, I live in a blank house. You fill in the color on a quiet street, a noisy street, a curvy street, a straight street. And so you can help them come up with their sentence, and then they can practice that. And at this stage, I do a lot of talking with the students about, posture and voice quality and enunciation, because I always tell them to kind of sit up and talk like a newscaster. And I find it's better if you can get the whole sentence out versus some kids get really frustrated and then start one word at a time. And I find that to be even less accurate. So you guys can try this here in a minute on whatever mobile device you have and see how you do. And then, once they've kind of practiced that a bit and they practice some other individual kind of personalized sentences, then you give them a writing prompt. Direct the students if you're doing a group, you direct them to scatter around the room and type 3 or 4 sentences about their writing prompt. But if it's just you and one student, you'd practice that writing prompt there. But I do love the idea of teaching the whole class. I think it's a great UDL training for everybody. I've done that with word prediction, and it's been really. And then the third step is to do 1 to 2 paragraphs about a motivating topic. And so that's the end goal of the lesson. So the thing I think you need to think about is, for a whole class where you've got kids of mixed range abilities, they might go through all of this in one lesson. But many of the kids that we're working with, we're going to be at that modeling and that personalized sentence level for quite a while. So that's kind of the steps to go through teaching. They go much more in detail this is the quick guide, and they go in much more detail in the manual. And I would say, rather than feeling like you have to sit down and tackle the whole manual, be like, okay, I'm going to consider it and I'm going to assess it, and so those are the places you're going to start. And you kind of have this quick guide if someone's really moving along quickly. And then you have the speech recognition guide to help some of our learners who are struggling some more with speech recognition.